Yeah, buddy.
Mortimer, we're back.
We're back, baby. We're back, baby, and we still don't know what this thing is going to become or what it is or what it ever was. But we're just going to do what we do best. You know what that is, Ren? You know what that is?
Make shit up.
We're going to fucking wing it, my friend.
This is so deja vu. Like
I know.
This is a story. Like every time I see Jonathan Goodman on my screen, he's inviting me to make something up. Hey, we're just gonna figure it out.
How many jobs have I offered you at this point?
6.
At least.
But my longevity rate is like 30% though. Like laid off of 4 of the 6, I think.
There would be questions if somebody were to like actually hire you for a real job, which none of us could ever get a real job, so that's not going to happen. But if anybody would like actually hire you for a real job and you had to prepare your resume and they saw the amount of jobs you've done, let's go through it. What have you done?
So I did OTC, right? That was
the fitness coaching. The
fitness coaching.
So the very short-lived like fitness coaching program I developed. Can I tell you about that? We talked about that for a second. That was actually a beta test for our software. Did you know that? So I started something called Online Trainer Coaching, I don't know, 2 years ago or something like that, which was a fitness coaching service specifically designed for people who work in fitness, because I believe that fitness coaches should have their own fitness coach. But what I didn't tell anybody, and so we had like, I don't know, how many was it, Amber? Like 5-6 coaches. We had like 200 clients at any one period of time or something like that. And we ran, I think, 4 groups that were 3 months each, I believe. And the only reason I did it was because I wanted to test assumptions in real time about how programs are done and how coaches manage clients and stuff like that, because we had taught tens of thousands of coaches how to train them. But I was like, well, there's no better way to learn than just doing it ourselves. So I actually built a business for no other reason than to test assumptions to enable us to build software, which turned into Quick Coach. And I don't think I've ever actually told anybody that, but that was the literal only reason why we did that business.
I thought it was to raise my cortisol levels. I thought that's why you did it.
Okay, so you were a fitness coach in online trainer coaching. That was short-lived.
Fired. Let go.
I don't think you were let go. I think that was a general layoffs is what that was.
It's like Oprah Winfrey with the pink slips. You get a pink slip. You get a pink. Everybody gets a pink slip. So I'm one of Jonathan Goodman's favorite things. A la Oprah. So I
only hire short people, so y'all don't hit your head on the door on the way out.
Basically. Can you get through that doorway? All right, you're hired. Only to be fired later. So then there was the first podcast. Do you remember the first podcast? Amber, do you remember the first podcast?
What was the first one? I mean, we did. Yeah, what was it called?
Success fights. Stronger.
I can
success.
find it.
Sounds like a really shitty name that I'd come up with.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed how every single name for everything I've ever done has been a piece of shit? It's like the most like absurdly descriptive and uninteresting name I could possibly think of. Personal Trainer Development Center. What a stupid name for a business. Online Trainer Academy. Quick Coach. Like, how original is that? You know how many softwares there are for fitness professionals that are something coach? And I'm like, you know what we need in this world? We need one more.
Pretty bad.
Okay. So the first podcast, and then were you in the second one? I don't think you were the second one.
It was called It's Possible, by the way.
That was me. Yeah, I was there for that one.
You were. It's possible. Oh, were
Yeah.
you? Okay.
Yeah,
And Brittany took over for you, I think, right?
I took over for her, I thought.
You took over for Brittany. Whatever.
I think she was first. Brittany was first.
Okay.
Abigail. I can never pronounce. And she's so nice to me all the time. But she was my producer. So
I mean, we say producer because like Amber's the producer. Like,
well, you know,
like producer is not like we went out and got a producer who knew anything about podcasts.
Oh,
producer was like,
no.
yo, you work for this company and we're already paying you a salary and we don't want to pay anybody else anymore. And so we're just going to call you the producer so that you do this other job under the umbrella of the job that you're currently doing.
That's exactly what that was, because she works in combat sports with her husband. So the combat sport gym owner was my podcast producer. I don't know how that thing failed.
Okay, so it's possible.
So it's
and then we did the online trainer show,
which was course, the answer Jonathan gave me when I asked him, "Am I going to be fired from this?" He said, read the title, buddy. It's possible.
So the online trainer show we did that for like a year. That was the last iteration of this podcast, right? So if you go back and this is just continuing on. I think it's so ridiculous the amount like anybody thinks that they need to like start something like, oh, if I'm doing like a new podcast, oh, it has to be new, or like, oh, I'm doing a business, so now I have to have a business Instagram. It's like, nah, that's actually a massive mistake. First of all, like nobody's going to look at your past stuff and be like, oh, they're not doing that now. Oh, that's not professional. Like nobody thinks that. And we're going to talk about professionalism a little bit here, but also, you've built up everything that you built up until that point. Like the amount that people start new right now is frightening. Starting brand new from scratch is so unbelievably hard that I think you need to avoid it at all costs. What I think a lot of people take for granted is how much work they've done unconsciously without even knowing that they were doing the work. Like the amount of people you've met, the amount of connections you made, the amount of just like dumb status updates you've put up that like people have seen, but like that's your brand, right? Like that's you connecting with other people. So even though you didn't use it for a business, your business is you. And so you should not have a separate business account that you're starting from scratch. If you've decided to do a new business, you should just continue off of the account that you've been building for the longest time, because that's where all of your existing connections are. And so we're continuing off of like this podcast. If you go back, it's like, wow, they've done hundreds of episodes. It's like, nah, this is episode 1 of like version 4, Right. But if you go back, you could see actually all of the versions and all of the times that Wen was in it and not in it. But you'll kind of get the idea. Okay, so there was the Online Trainer Show podcast.
Right.
Then you were a coach for the Online Trainer Academy.
Right.
What are we at? 4, 5 jobs?
Yeah. That's a solid 3.5. I would say. I'm transitioning now through another furlough, as they say. So, but it's been all joy for me, man. I mean. Realistically, if I can apply a moment of seriousness here,
you get one.
You get a lot of skills, man, and Jonathan knows me to be a yes man. So our conversations for me to apply for something to get fired again are kind of like, hey, you want to do this? And I'm like, all right, yeah, that's it. Like that's the depth of our conversations.
What was the message that we had? I'm gonna pull this up while we're talking.
That's kind of literally the message, right? I think I said something like, "Do I get to get fired again? I'm in."
That was basically it.
That was it.
I said October 5th, 2022 at 8:06 p.m. I said, "Hi." You said, "What's up, John?" I said, "How are you?" You said, "I'm pretty hungry, but I made some delicious steak, so I'm going to have some after my live broadcast at 8:30. I said, "Want to do another podcast with me?" You said, "The answer is always yes. When do we start? And when do I get fired?" I'm excited about both. That was like, we'll post that. Like, that was actually the entire conversation that led to whatever we're doing right now.
Viewers like with 11-time author, world speaker Jonathan Goodman. That is your interview process. So if you're a collegiate counselor, slip that into your education process. Interviewing with Jonathan Goodman, because that's how it goes.
So can we talk about like the format that we're kind of envisioning on this thing? Amber, why don't you come in and talk about the format? Flip your hat around. Let's see it. Flip your hat around. The Olsen kid.
I'm not actually here.
So again, podcasting, it's very important to use live props, visual props when you podcast. It's part of the skill you wouldn't understand because, we're podcasters now. And so what Amber has on her head is a hat that says, I'm not actually here, because I don't think Amber actually wants to be here. So Amber, what are we doing?
But Amber does like getting paid, so she is here.
Right. Showed up for the money. It's typical.
Mm-hmm.
And for your nonsense. I live for potential run slow jams, so.
Mm-hmm. That's why I show up.
Exactly. The format, as far as I'm aware, is we have a document that we put random nonsensical thoughts into, and then we discuss them. That's
right.
it.
And so here's kind of how I'm thinking about this going down. Is the first one I just did, so I can use this because I'm starting this, but on an ongoing basis, whenever Len or Amber or I come across something that we want to talk about on the podcast, it might be something that we don't know anything about, right? It might just be something that we want to explore, something cool we came across, or whatever it is. Sometimes relating to fitness and health, sometimes not, sometimes relating to business, sometimes just like really funny, interesting, or important stuff that we come across. We throw it in the document. Now, here's the rule. The other people will see the document, but the document is built and meant to be cryptic. And in that sense, the person who posted it might post like a link or whatever of something that they want to like watch together on the podcast or review on the podcast. The other people are not allowed to click on that link before the podcast. You're not supposed to describe what it is, because what we really want to capture, what I really want to capture, is actual responses, actual reactions to whatever we see. So, we're going to start with something really, really good here. Papa Swolio. Amber, you pull up Papa Swolio for me? We got to get... Man, have you seen Papa Swolio? Do you know who this guy is?
Isn't that the old Smurf guy? That's the leader of the Smurfs?
So, Papa Swolio is the best, like, TikTok... I think he actually just got canceled on Instagram, and I don't really know why. Maybe he was making, like, inflammatory statements or something like that. But this dude is, like, 2 million followers on TikTok, and he is going to show you that you're just making it way too hard on yourself. All that this guy does is every single day he just posts a new video that just says, go to the fucking gym.
That's Papa Swole, as in you're swole, bro. You're swole.
Yeah, Amber's
son.
having a hard time pulling up this link.
That's all right.
But
nothing should go right today.
Nothing should go right today. But there he is. So you look at this dude, and he has 39.9 million likes and 2.2 million followers on TikTok. And what I love about him is a few things. Number one is he's just like a fucking giant. Like this dude, like long hair that he clearly uses. Like he uses conditioner, right, Amber? Like, yeah. He uses conditioner. He clearly has a beard kit with like beard oils. You know, I imagine that's a thing. Like, that's like a thing for like men's grooming, isn't it? Like beard oils. Like this guy, this is the type of guy. Papa Swolio is the type of man who uses beard oils. Like, and I don't say that as a negative. It's just, it's a matter of fact. You know, you look at him. And he's like swinging a club, or he's like, knock, knock. Who's there? Thanks for the support, guys. Knock, knock.
I didn't know if this was call or response. Who's there, Jonathan?
Oh, wait, no, that's not the joke. Wait, here's the joke. Why did...
So, I hope the listeners see why there was no response. We generally don't respond to Jonathan when he talks.
Okay. Hey, Ren, why'd the chicken cross the road?
I don't know. To get away from this joke, John, I don't know. Why did the chicken cross the road?
Go to the fucking gym. So go to the fucking gym. That's literally his TikTok. That's literally his content. And the reason I want you to know about Papa Swolio is that you are making it too goddamn hard. This dude has a clothing merch line. This dude has a membership site. He has all of the stuff that like a fitness person is going to have to sell. Except he's figured out that in order to promote all of the stuff that he delivers, he doesn't need to like prove to you through like content and like sharing all of these important lessons. It's way easier than that. He needs to find one message that hits, and he needs to keep repeating that over and over again. Now, if you go back, I went back, I think it was in his YouTube or something like that. This dude's been producing videos for like 10 years. So he just figured out that like this message is the one that hits. He did everything that everybody else. Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about, I don't know, make up some shit. Metabolic priming, just some like fancy word that means nothing. And the best way to prime your metabolic system is, like everybody goes through that like nonsense of not knowing how to communicate online. But I think a lot of people get super bogged down trying to create front-facing content to attract customers, and it is much simpler than they think. You got to find one message that resonates and hammer that message in different creative ways. How you acquire customers, how you generate eyeballs is often very different than how you service those eyeballs. Get that, Ren? Service eyeballs?
I don't want to service anybody's eyeballs, Jonathan, first of all.
But
I don't understand what that means, and I just know I don't like it.
I just saw Amber's face, and all that I could think was Jesus. But the point of all of this is that what you do once you get a customer is often very different than how you promote to get that customer. And a lot of people are promoting to get customers the same way that they're like trying to service that customer. And it doesn't work because you have to earn the right to go deep with somebody.
Mm-hmm. That's shaky ground, Jonathan. It's too easy, so I'm just going to skip over it and pretend like I didn't hear it. But I think what Jonathan's talking about here is consent. I don't know. You keep going with the story, Jonathan.
Amber, go on the next one. Open up the next one. Open up the next one. I came across, okay, so Papa Swolio. Look up Papa Swolio, man.
But I get what you're saying, Jonathan. What you're saying is, you just get the eyeballs. Get the eyeballs first. It doesn't have to be complicated. Find the message that works, right? Just do that thing. Because I don't know what this. First of all, I don't know if people can visually see this podcast ever. Is this going on YouTube?
It will be on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've gotten no instructions about what I'm involved in here. I mean, at all.
Right.
I showed up today to see how it works. But if you look at Papa Swolio, like every single video was like in front of his backyard. Like he's in trees in his backyard. Like there was no differentiation in any of that content. Like zero.
No.
Everything. It was just a sea of the same TikTok. Basically.
Over and over again. And if you watch them, they're actually, a lot of them, really freaking funny. But if you watch them, they're quite literally the same thing over and over and over again, just said a different way. And I think that's the beauty of it. So, okay, I came across this thing on Twitter. And Amber, you were just hurting. Amber brings up her Twitter account, and her account got locked, so she can't even access this link. Really, Amber? Really? You didn't check this beforehand, hey?
Shit. Why would we check anything beforehand?
I was told I wasn't allowed, okay? So this is not my fault.
Can I share mine? How does that work?
Well, let me see if I can log out.
Oh, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That's going to break stuff. Okay. I'm just going to describe this because that's what we do here on what's the show called? The Goodman Show. I'm just going to describe this. Okay. I came across this tweet today. He's a college football coach. And if you go to YouTube, we'll get our video team to like bring it into the thing. But basically, it's this college football coach, and he's being interviewed by somebody else. And the guy interviewing him is like our interviewer. Like, when just like put on your like white guy interview voice and interview me. Like,
what, I need a subject, Jonathan. I don't know.
Whatever it is, just like. And today
I got it.
Amber's got it? Okay. Well, I was really looking forward to doing my white guy interview.
No, do your white guy interview voice, Ron.
Today in college sports, Notre Dame, 60. Oh,
What?
so Amber pulled it up. I'm sorry.
So Amber pulled it up.
I know who that is. Do you know who that is, Jonathan?
I don't know who that is.
So Jonathan, because Jonathan is of a mid-American origin. He's a white guy.
What?
And I'm not. I'm
I'm Canadian. I'm not mid-American.
Oh, that's right. Well, it's the same thing for me, Jonathan. In the U.S. South, Middle American and Canadian are the same. You're the same kind of liberal trash in the American South, Jonathan. That's what we say down here. Like,
I want you to know something about us Canadians, dude. We put Canadian flags on our backpacks so people don't think that we're American when we travel. I put a Canadian flag on my Instagram account so that people knew I was not American. When I'm traveling around the world, I reinforce these stereotypes because occasionally you have to be a bit of an asshole when you're traveling.
Right.
And whenever I do that, I make sure to say to somebody that I'm from the United States.
I resent that. I resent that as much as you not knowing who Neon Deion Sanders is, a.k.a. Primetime.
Is that Deion Sanders?
That's Deion Sanders, who now coaches Jackson State University and HBCU, a historically black college and university. I went to an HBCU, historically black college and university, so that's where he coaches now. So Primetime, for people that don't know, he played NFL football and baseball at the same time.
Yes, I did know that. Him and Bo Jackson.
Right.
So Amber, can you play the video with sound? Let's listen to it from the beginning.
That's how you feel.
How is Jackson State
head football coach? Coach Brown, Coach, how you feeling today?
No, straight up.
I was asked how you feel.
Not talking like that just 2 minutes ago. Can you do the interview? Can you come in like you normally sound?
I just want to be clear and concise.
Yes, sir.
And professional. Yes, sir.
So being you is not.
Okay, stop it.
I can't say, hey, what's up, Cole? I can't do that.
I ain't actually.
So this
is gold. Where the hell did you find this? Oh my God. This is the best part of any podcast we've ever done. This is so good for me. I love this.
So the interviewer, right? So the interviewer comes on, and I guess they were talking beforehand, and the interviewer was talking like a real human to him, and slap hands, like I don't know, like hey Len, what's up, man? And then he starts to interview. Okay, so Len, as we were speaking here, tell me how you were thinking, and Deion Sanders, I guess it's Deion Sanders now, which makes this more of a legendary video. It's just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you're trying to be professional. And he says at the end of it, we'll put a link to the whole clip. I just want you to try your best to be you. The wisdom in that statement. Think about how many people, check yourself, when you're putting yourself on the internet, when you're writing whatever it is, are you being you? Or are you trying to be quote-unquote professional? Because I can tell you straight up right now, the best way to guarantee that you will never be successful is to worry about how professional you look. The more comfortable you become in trying to be you, the more successful you'll come, the better relationships that you'll build. And that's why I love this interview so much. Deion Sanders stops him. He's like, what the hell are you doing, man? We were just talking 2 minutes ago. Why are you being fake right now?
So we may need to segment the black guy fact of the day. This will be the black guy fact of the day for this episode.
The reason why you're on this podcast,
it's the only reason I'm here.
I want to make sure that we can do. Think about what we can do, right? We can talk about Jewish people and we can talk about black people on this podcast because me and you are on this.
Freely.
We have nobody can say anything.
Jonathan just hires me for quota reasons, typically.
We gotta get a brown guy. We gotta get a brown guy.
Subsequently, if we add another brown person, I get fired. But it's all right. It gets, I'm opening doors for my people in the culture. In any case, so this term is called code switching. Are you guys familiar with the term?
Code switching. I don't know that. I don't know.
Okay.
What is it?
So the terminology of code switching is that most people, most black people, or people from any culture where
could be anything, right?
Where there's sort of a separate and more consistent vernacular around the culture that they use within the culture, and then when they get into a situation where professionalism is paramount, they speak as if they are oftentimes Caucasian people. It's called code switching. So black people have been talking about this for years. I'm great at code switching. I talk to my homies a certain way, but when I get into a situation where I'm, it's professional, I switch my vernacular, my tone, et cetera, et cetera. So Dion was like, "Hey, bro, I ain't with that code switching. What you doing? You were just talking to me like one of the homies. Now you're talking to me like an NFL owner, and I don't like it. Don't do that on TV." And Prime Time, or Coach Prime as they call him, was never one for coach code switching.
Okay.
So I love this video though so much because he probably could have had this conversation at some other point. He knows what this guy sounds like on camera, right? Like, he's a reporter. Reporters, they all sound the same.
Right.
But he chose to wait until they were rolling, and then he called them out for it. And I love that so much. By the way, there's only been one sort of reporter that didn't switch like that. You guys remember Stuart Scott? He used to be on ESPN. He's a legendary ESPN anchor. He was the person that would bring things into like Jordan.
I'm from Canada. Did he announce hockey?
No, John. No, he didn't.
No.
I don't think. I don't think.
Not.
Do they do hockey on ESPN? I think that's probably the point where I turn it off if they do. Funny story. Me and Casey Sasek, and if you don't know who Casey Sasek is, he's this life partner of one of our good friends, Molly Galbraith. We were at Jonathan's convention power summit. What was it? Power Summit.
The Strong Summit. I have a funny story about this.
Strong Summit.
So I put on 2 conferences called the Strong Summit. And we'll talk about them at length another time. I'm sure we'll get to them and get to the ins and outs of them and how I actually ended up giving away half of the tickets to them to fill the seats because the optics were important and nobody knew that, and how actually scholarships like that actually are really beneficial. And it was like this weird anyway, we'll talk about that another time. But I put on 2 big conferences. And they were called the Strong Summit. And I had a partner in these conferences. And I can tell this story now because this was a long time ago, and I'm guessing that he's not listening to this. But my partner in it was Strong Magazine, and we did it in association with Toronto Pro Show, which is one of the biggest fitness conferences in Toronto. And what I did not realize, Strong Magazine was not my partner. This guy ran another magazine that was a competitor to Strong Magazine, but he named it the Strong Summit, and Strong Magazine actually sent me and my partner a cease and desist for the name of the summit that I never saw. And so there was a legal battle going on behind the scenes concerning this conference that I was putting on. And I had no idea. There's a reason he's not my partner anymore for a lot of reasons, but he hid the whole thing, but I was just as liable. And I found out about this because Strong Magazine has now been bought by 2 people who are friends of mine, and they told me this. They're just "Oh, by the way, did you know that this happened and there was this big thing?" And Paul Buscetta, who used to run the magazine, he's heard about you because of this whole thing that happened. I was like, "What?" He's like, "You didn't know about that?" I was like, I didn't know about any of this, man. So yeah, I mean, I was getting sued and I didn't even know it for that conference.
Another great name of a product too, by the way, Jonathan. Strong Summit.
It was a really bad name, right? Like, it's not a good enough name to get sued over. Put it that way.
It follows along your track record of naming things, though. I think you consistently give poor names to every endeavor that you enter into. So
my belief is that you can always change the name later, and it's really important to not get caught up in trying to make something perfect before you start. I do truly believe that imperfect action is better than perfect inaction, and it's better to start and figure out that stuff later. The problem is that I just never figure it out.
You never change it. Later never comes. I get fired before you get to later. So,
and then you end up with the Personal Trainer Development Center with the acronym PTDC, and people always confuse your hashtag and your name with the Pakistani Tourism Development Center. Yeah. That happens.
Oh my God.
Go on, what are we talking about?
I always confuse it with PTSD. That's what.
Dude,
that's
nobody
what
can get it.
Yeah.
Nobody can get the name. I was like, why aren't there like more referrals to our site? And it's like every single person I've spoken to, they're like, yeah, I've been following your site for so long. I love it. Yeah, it's like PCD something. I was like, oh, we're fucking fucked, dude. Like, this is clearly not
normally
gonna work
an
long-term.
acronym spells something cool. But your acronym is like a Slovakian last name. Like there's just a bundle of consonants that nobody can, for a man that's written so many words, how are you so bad at naming things?
There was not a single vowel in sight.
Obviously, Allison named the children. In any case, what was I talking about? Oh, so I'm there with Casey Sasek and hockey stuff. We're in the Hockey Hall of Fame at one point in Jonathan's.
Because I rented out the Hockey Hall of Fame for the party.
Yeah,
Give me some cred. Like, that was a legit party. I rented out the entire Hockey Hall of Fame for a conference party, and we had the Stanley Cup there, and it was badass. Give me some. I get that you're like a jerky football fan, and you don't respect the really weird, dumb sport that Canadians somehow like, where we strap knives to our feet and skate around on the ice because there's nothing else to do in the winter. And it's the type of thing that makes absolutely no sense, that nobody else in the world cares about, but we seem to get a lot of national pride when we win, simply because nobody else does it, so we win it.
Right. I mean, it's clearly your thing. I think you just had too many Americans at the summit, John. I think that was the problem.
Well, let's talk about that.
Because Casey and I are standing there in the Hockey Hall of Fame, and there's the shiny thing, I guess, was the Stanley Cup. Please forgive me, Canada. I don't need some hate mail for this. But Americans are categorically not well traveled. Like, it's not something we're known for. We're not known for having, a lot of international IQ. Right? So
ethnocentricity. I understand.
Yeah,
go on.
Right. It's not our thing. So I'm standing there with Casey. He was like, yeah, it's a Hockey Hall of Fame, huh? I was like, yeah. I was like, this is awesome. He was like, it'd be a lot cooler if it was NFL Hall of Fame, wouldn't it? And I was like, absolutely. And this is how I bonded with Casey Sasek the first time, and then I met Molly before and after that, and then they had a conversation with me, but it was over our lack of interest in the Stanley Cup and or Hockey Hall of Fame. We didn't know any of the names. I knew Gretzky because I think there was a Kings jersey in there, L.A. Kings jersey. And back in the day, Eazy-E and Ice Cube, when they were in NWA, they wore Kings jerseys because it was an L.A. reference, and they were they were running the streets of L.A. Eazy-E and Ice Cube and NW and MC Ren and Dr. Dre were in NWA, and they wore L.A. Kings. So we thought the Kings jersey was pretty cool, but we would have much rather seen Dr. Dre than Gretzky. I mean, because we're Americans. But
let me tell you about an
interesting
phenomenon. Let me tell you about an interesting phenomenon that happens there. I've put on 5 conferences, 5 seminars now, and in every single one we had more people that visited from outside of the country to attend than people in Toronto. And this is a phenomenon I've seen around the horn. I remember Jeremy Scott, who I spent some time with when I was in Arizona, is like a well-known fitness guy, cover magazines and stuff like that. And he owns a gym in Arizona, and I went and worked out a bunch of times with him. And he's like, dude, people will travel from around the world to come visit and work out with me here, I can't get somebody to come around the block. And it's a phenomenon that I gotta figure out a name for. We'll call it like the uninteresting neighbor phenomenon. Like, you could have, well, but I mean, think about it, right? Like you could have the best person in the world at a thing that you want to learn be your neighbor, and you would not go and want to learn from them. Right. You go and learn from somebody else who lived far away. Because when we actually meet people in real life, what we figure out is quite simple. People are people. Everybody's the same. All of the illusions of grandeur, all of the trappings, all of the things we think are special because we don't understand and can't articulate them, immediately go away because we're like, nah, they're just a person. Like, they sit on the toilet just like me. They put on their socks just like me. They probably put their shirt on backwards more than 50% of the time, just like me.
Mm-hmm. I've got to say, I had gone through the first iteration of the Online Trainer Academy. Again, one of those great names that Jonathan came up with. And I was immediately underwhelmed when I met him in person. It was a pretty bad letdown,
Well, you know what everybody says? Everybody that meets me in person is like, I thought you were taller.
Well, yeah, there's that. That's the thing. But as a short guy, I wasn't expecting to. I was expecting some type of magic. Some type of incredibly personable. Personality traits. Something nearly mythical. The essence, the aura of someone had written all these fantastic books, some of which I learned from and some of which I just ordered because they were free offers. But there was none of that. It's like, this guy's pretty dull. I mean,
maybe he'll offer me a job one day.
Right. Maybe I'll work for him one day. Yeah. So I think it's very common that we put people on a pedestal when we see them in a certain environment. And then when we meet them in person, we immediately kick the pedestal from under them.
I think just what we realize is that the most perhaps important thing to always keep in mind, especially in this age where we exist online, is that people are people are people. There's so much more similar amongst us than there is different. And that's important to keep in mind when you're considering empathy. Mm-hmm. And perhaps dealing with somebody who you may disagree with. And oftentimes, if you feel like you disagree with that person, you probably agree with much more than you disagree with that person. You have seen a snippet of what they have online that you've then put through your own filter with your own biases and analysis of that one snippet that often doesn't represent the person's full beliefs or nuances or context. And so I think that that's very important. I also think it's very important when you're thinking about your own success online and you're comparing yourself to other people. I'm a big proponent of not, and I get caught up in doing this sometimes, which is why it's so important to me, because the things often that we talk about the most online are the things we struggle with the most, which is like the biggest hidden secret. Like, almost every single person that I know, and I know a lot of like well-known people in fitness that talk about how important it is to be proud of your body and stuff like that, suffer with like serious body dysmorphia. Mm-hmm. And the reason that they talk about it publicly online is because they need the perceived social support for that thing that they suffer from. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's one of the beautiful things about what the internet provides us, is it provides us a whole community of people that support us in ways that we need to be supported by. Mm-hmm. I do think it's though important to recognize that that's what's happening. And so at the same time, as you're putting yourself out there, I think it's very important to check yourself and not compare yourself to other people. Instead, compare yourself to who you were 12 months ago.
Indeed. It's funny that you said that because Ice Cube, who was one of the members of NWA,
tell me about Ice Cube,
that wore the LA Kings jerseys,
that
made me slightly respect being in the Hockey Hall of Fame, had a famous song, "Check Yourself Before You Wreck Yourself." Chickadee, check yourself before you wreck yourself. Great song, by the way.
What's the next line?
I don't know.
Is that our new intro for the show?
Yeah, something. I would like an Ice Cube intro for the check yourself
That'd
for you.
be good.
That's a good intro. Amber came up with the last intro, by the way. I get a lot of credit because of my voice, but Amber was like, "This is such a ridiculously rudimentary production that we need a children's song to introduce it." I'm thinking something along the lines of "Wheels on the Bus," and that's how we came up with the last intro. And Amber, in her brilliance, has already found the second intro. But what was I saying? I was saying
So
something.
let's do this.
Oh.
Let's do this. This is the Jonathan Goodman Show.
No, we're
Goodman
not doing
Show,
that, Jonathan.
Goodman Show. This is the Jonathan Goodman Show. You better check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's it. I like that. Jonathan, can I ask you some personal questions, Jonathan? I want to ask you a personal question. Is that okay? Can we do that on the podcast?
Yeah. And then let's do that. And then I want to get into one more from my document, which is Peloton.
Okay, because I haven't, since the last podcast, I haven't been doing shit with my life. Like, I haven't really done anything. Just kind of floating from place to place.
Okay.
But you've done things. So in the time that I've not been doing shit, just nothing, Jonathan has built a whole software company. He made a whole nother human, for God's sakes. Another kid, and so I'm just curious, like, what's that like for you? Like, how
Making a human, it's super fun for like
I know that
short
part.
period of time, and then it's just, and then there's like nothing, and then you're just really fucking tired for a while, and then it starts to get fun again.
30. I'm not talking about your 30 for 30, Jonathan. 30 seconds for 30 years. I'm talking about. So how's your life changed? Fill me in, because I don't get to talk to John very much. He avoids my calls. I did. He pawns me off to Amber for answers.
I did actually change my phone number. We can talk about
Did
that
you
a
really?
little bit. I every couple years I pull a Beyonce, and I change my email and my phone number.
Oh, I like that.
And the reason for that is I just like, it's not that I'm so popular. I just feel like life is much better when people who you don't know how to get a hold of you. And
It's
so, people who like know me, like my best friend, because I only have one friend, and
Obviously me.
family members.
Keep going.
I feel like life is much better. Like, I was at the bank and I did like a foreign currency exchange last year, and they said, okay, it'll be, what can we just confirm your email and your phone number, and we'll call you when it's ready. And I said, yeah, no, that's right. But if you email me, I'm not going to see it because everything goes to junk. Like, I just don't even look at it. And if you call me, I won't pick up, and I don't have an answering machine. And he's like, well, how will you know that the money's ready? I'm like, well, it takes 7 to 10 business days. So I'll just show up here in 3 weeks. He's like, I guess that works. Like, it's just, and so I just kill, like, and so the woman who got my old phone number, doesn't like me very much because she gets so many messages and stuff
Oh my
like
gosh.
that. Yeah, no, it's pretty funny. What did you ask me? What have I
don't
been up
know,
to?
Jonathan. I mean,
What do you want to know?
Yeah, but so you've got a whole company that you didn't have. You revamped
the software, but I mean, it's not a new thing, right? Like this is what people don't understand about like overnight successes, is that overnight successes is always the result of years of work behind the scenes in private that nobody sees.
Right.
And so, I mean, Amber, how long have we been working on the software project for behind the scenes? I mean, I started speaking to people about it in 2015. I've been advising fitness software companies since 2013. And so I've been like deeply involved in this space. We did 1.5 to 2 years of product innovation research, hiring a company that teaches out of Harvard University. We did multiple cycles. We did them in 2-week sprints. I think we did 6, maybe 7 research sprints where we built pamphlets, where we built prototypes, and we did blind study. So nobody knew it was us. And we used all of these different software programs and stuff like that, like user interviews and stuff, where you can basically select the type of person, and we designed research experiments to be able to test assumptions. And so by the time we got to actually putting the first line of code down, it moved quickly. It only moved quickly because we had done years of work, and we knew exactly what we were going to build up until then. And then, of course, once you get it into people's hands, you realize that users just do all this wacky shit anyway, and you know, you got to go back and change the experience. But I mean, by and large, Amber, like we nailed it. We really did. And I mean, I talked to our software development team. I talked to other friends who have software and stuff like that. It's like what we're doing with Quick Coach is like, I wouldn't say unheard of, but I mean, holy crap, we nailed it. Like the way that we built this tool and what we understood about the market and how we did some things different that were not being done before. Like, for example, not having like a perfect input system where you can like select your number of reps, not having a built-in workout library. It's like all of these things cause all of these downstream effects that make the actual software worse for the user and for the client. Anyway, so that's why it seems to have moved fast, is the answer, Ren. It was not fast at all. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars and like years of work before a single line of code was written.
That's another firing for me, by the way, because at one point I was a Quick Coach beta testing commercial model. Jonathan had me shoot some video in my closet one day. I forgot that I got fired.
What did I have you do? No, I don't think you ever did it though.
I did it. I sent it to where Amber knows. See, she saw it, and I was like, so Quick Coach helps me do blankety blank, and then there were like 3 options of the presentation for Quick Coach.
Oh, that was part of the research. Now that was part of the research. Yeah, no, that wasn't like an actual ad. That was part of our research prototyping. Yeah. But I did want you, and I still kind of want you to be the voice of our mascot. So
Quick Coach Cat. What is
Quincy the cat.
Quincy the cat. Funny story. I was almost named Quincy. Like I was going to be named Quincy. So my sister didn't like the name, so they named me this weird ass name.
So the problem that you have with software is that it's really hard to represent it in like an interesting way online that's in any way engaging. But the second that somebody registers and starts using Quick Coach, they're like, oh shit, y'all, this is it. But like getting them to take that step is a big step, right? And so I was thinking of a whole bunch of like fun ways to try to do that. And one of the things that I thought of is, what if I build like a cartoon character around this? And it's Quick Coach, so it had to start with a Q. I was like, Quincy. Okay, Quincy. Well, that's a funny sounding name. It's unique. So I decided Quincy the cat was going to be a smooth talking, slow jamming, take no shit personal trainer cat who.
It doesn't make sense until you put cat on the end of it, by the way.
and I still want to do this. And so what's particularly interesting is that artificial intelligence, and like, I don't know if you followed like anything with DALL-E, DALL, whatever the straight line thing is on their keyboard. What's that, Amber?
It's a minus, John. I'm pretty sure.
A hyphen, yeah, DAL, a hyphen. Okay. Oh, sorry, you're looking at me like I'm an idiot. I'm like,
you've written how many books and you've used them.
I don't need to know what the goddamn thing is called. I just need to know how to use it in a book, on a piece of paper computer screen thingy that I type in. I don't need to know that it's called a hyphen. I don't know what a gerund is. Do you know what a gerund is? I don't know, but I don't think I make that grammatical mistake.
Oh, man.
I don't know what a participle, what's all the grammar stuff you learn? Like, I don't know what these words mean. I just know not to do them.
I feel like I'm going to be fired from this one faster than the last one, for some reason.
So, Have you ever seen DALL-E though? It's really, really cool. Basically it's all of these like insane artificial intelligence image rendering softwares that exist now.
Yes.
And what you do is you enter in a phrase.
Yes.
And it kicks out an image. So long story short, I have a neighbor who we're very close with, who teaches virtual reality at one of the colleges here. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, do you have like a student or something like that who specializes in rendering like artificial characters using these AI engines? He's like, in fact, I do. And so I was like, okay, give them this statement and see how it is. What did I give him? I think it was like, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, Quincy Jones, and and Tony the Tiger.
Oh my God.
As a personal trainer.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
Right? But like, you're thinking of this right now in your head, and you're like, yo, that's badass.
I've never heard these words in one sentence. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying.
Let alone in one phrase.
Be really good.
Yeah, I am.
Really good.
I'm disappointed that you came up with that question for a man who spends his life teaching AI. But I'm also excited for what the answer might be, what it might spit out.
And so you're going to be the voice.
Well, it only makes sense to me.
Yeah, that'll be your seventh job.
6 and 7, yeah.
From this one.
6 and 7 firing. So, so Jonathan, you had something. What are you discussing? You're supposed to be discussing something. What is
Peloton? Okay, let's talk about Peloton. I want to talk about Peloton.
I want
real
you
quick.
to.
Because, unsurprisingly to anybody who actually works in the fitness industry, their company has taken a nosedive.
Right.
And it's not like anything that I like wish on anybody, but they just came out with the Peloton row, which is a rower, which basically means you go like this. Right. Which is slightly different than a bike where with your legs you go like this.
Right.
It's not complicated. You want to describe for the listeners, Ren, what I'm doing?
Jonathan is twiddling his four fingers together, and in the
you go.
rowing expression, he reached his closed fist close into the camera and pulled it away back towards his chest to simulate a rowing motion. Very well done, Jonathan.
Thank you. Leading with my back, of course. Right. And so,
of course,
the Peloton row costs $3,195. Plus, you of course need the membership, which is another $528 yearly. Now, the Complex 2 rower is like a very good rowing machine that you already see everywhere. That's a fraction of the cost. I don't know what it is. You can look it up. But it's like a fraction of the cost. And it's interesting because what Peloton is highlighted as how much status there is involved in fitness equipment. And what I think, though, that perhaps they underestimated, or they overestimated was how big the market was for status and also how quick the market, like, turns over. I mean, there's very few actual, they're called Veblen goods, which a Veblen good is just a really fancy name for something that has no actual value other than it's expensive. So like a Rolex watch is like a Veblen good. It's like, yo, my Casio tells time just as good as a Rolex watch does. The only reason that a Rolex watch is so valuable is because it's expensive. It's like, if actually the most expensive car was something that gained status, well, everybody would be driving around in 18-wheelers.
Right.
Because an 18-wheeler is actually more expensive. The problem is it actually has a purpose. And so what you do instead, if you want status, is you buy a car like a Lamborghini or something like that, that is also very expensive but has no purpose.
Right.
And so Peloton is very much a Veblen good. But it has no real purpose other than status. And there's this joke amongst anybody who sells fitness equipment on infomercials, and like this is actually a joke that they have between them, that every piece of equipment that they sell needs to have both handles and fold up because it's eventually going to turn into a laundry hanger and end up underneath your bed. Because they know that this is going to happen. And so with these companies that are infomercial companies that sell equipment, it's just a matter of like get in, make as much money as get out. Whereas Peloton was trying to do basically the exact same thing, but at the same time, like create a brand around it. And the main thing, and so there's that, which I think is interesting. Like, I don't have like an answer for it. I just think it's really interesting thinking about it that way. The other part that I think is really interesting is kind of this phenomenon going on with like individual influencers, particularly in the fitness industry, where Peloton's real value is actually in how much people follow their key instructors.
Right.
The problem, though, is that the key instructors hold all of the power. And they don't need Peloton at a certain point.
Right.
And so you got these people where Peloton can't even pay them enough. I mean, and this is what I think is going to start to happen and what I think is going to start like really taking down these companies. I mean, not just Peloton, but Tono and some of these other companies is they're taking in, millions upon millions dollar in investment or even, public money. Like how much money has Peloton lost, since they IPO'd. And they're investing that money into marketing and into brand to build up these personalities. And then the personalities one day are going to be like, well, nuts to you. Yeah, I don't need you. And they're just going to go do their own thing and buy their own spin bike. Use an app that allows them to stream their workouts and have their own membership and make a few $1 million a year versus, the top instructors of Peloton, make $500,000. They'll make a few million a year, and you're going to see this like how do you keep it? It's going to be really interesting, but this also just goes to show why you want to build your own thing and you build audience and your own community, but you can also work for these big companies, and I think a lot of people would do well doing it. Like, work for these big companies, leverage their marketing budgets, leverage their communities, but don't forget to build your own platform on the back end. Nobody can stop you. You don't necessarily sell to your own platform while you're working for these companies, but nobody can stop you building your own platform on social media. And you're just going to absorb this stuff in, and then you just go, you can go back and you can renegotiate with them for a better salary or stuff like that, or you could just leave and like do your own thing. I just think this is the age we're moving into. And I think the more people step into it, the better.
It makes more sense, though. I mean, if you got somebody put you up on the platform, it's sort of like the lead singer effect, right? In music, you got these great bands in the '80s that categorically became lead singers in the '90s, right?
Right.
Because you're the front man or the front woman of the thing. Your voice is on everything. Sure, you hear the guitar and the bongos. I love bongos, by the way. You hear the bongos.
I love bongos.
Who doesn't like a good bongo? I mean, you show me a person that doesn't like a bongo, and I'll show you a person who's an asshole. Like, I don't want to deal with that
Amber, you get
person.
me a bongo song. Amber, you get me a bongo song to start this podcast.
There might be some bongo in "Check Yourself" by Ice Cube. I can't remember, but in any case, but you're the lead singer. You're the most well-known person in that musical. People are actually falling in love with the lead singer. You can call it what you want. Sure, it's a great group. It's a great band.
like Adam Levine. Did you see that?
Right.
Did you see the Instagram message he sent?
No. What did Adam got in some hot water, a few months ago. But what did he say in the Instagram message?
Oh my God. Oh, everybody memed it. Let me find it.
Jonathan's talking, of course, about Adam Levine of Maroon 5. Great group. But Adam Levine is the guy, nobody's clamoring to see the other Maroons, right?
He sent this message. He's married, by the way. And he sent this message to somebody on Instagram, to some model on Instagram or something. I don't know what the story was. But the message said, "It is truly unreal how fucking hot you are. It blows my mind." He's how? You write that in a message on Instagram. No shit. This person is like, oh, by the way, TMZ? Yes, I would like hundreds of thousands of dollars, please.
But when you're Adam Levine, you could pull off that kind of confidence, right? To Jonathan's point with the Peloton, folks, right? I follow two of them, and I've never set foot near a Peloton. But these personalities grow, and you can't restrict a person from using their status as a personality from being known. You can put them in a contract, right? But contracts expire, and contracts are specific to certain things. Like, you can't say you can't do an appearance, or maybe you can't write a book, or it's
hard to enforce. I mean, think about non-competes with gyms. Like, most places you can't stop the person from making a living. That's like a legal thing beyond the non-compete. But if you think about it, like, you own a gym, let's say, on a smaller scale. You own a gym, and a trainer decides to leave. As long as the trainer doesn't openly solicit clients and be like, hey, you client Amber, come with me here. If Amber really loves that trainer, if Amber really loves training with me or whatever, and I call Amber and say, I would love to keep training with you because I love training with you, there's no way to enforce that as the gym. And that's what happens. I mean, that's what happens when you build a great reputation that precedes you. That's why the majority of your efforts, I think, need to be put onto things like content and reputation and trust, and how investing in yourself there, investing in the content you produce, investing in the reputation and the brand that you build is a way better way to invest your money than any stock, crypto, anything like that. It's not even close, because it's just security. Like, to me, I do want to talk about money a lot on this podcast in the coming months, years, in the coming years.
Sure, Jonathan.
Because to me, there's this narrative around money, around finances, where more is better, and I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think enough is certainly better. I think it's admirable to make a lot of money. I think that money also doesn't change you. I don't think that money is evil. I think what money does is it amplifies what's already there. It's like people say, oh, when I have money, I'm going to be philanthropic. It's like, no, you're not.
You're not now.
No, you're not. If you're already philanthropic, when you have money, you will be able to become more philanthropic. Mm-hmm. If you're already an asshole, money is not going to make you a nice person. It's going to make you more of an asshole. It's an amplifier of 100%. What's already there. But I do think that the true purpose of money is quite simple, and it comes down to freedom. Freedom to me is being able to do what you want, how you want, with who you want, when you want. Mm-hmm. 100%. That's it. And that, to me, the career search should be the search for freedom. And that means that you can create good stuff. I wanted to build software and give it away for free to tens of thousands of trainers to use with hundreds of thousands of clients. Well, because I was able to make the money, because I built the brand, because I built the content, I was able to do what I wanted, when I wanted, with who I wanted, how I wanted. I didn't need to answer to other VC private equity investment companies who were like, I need a return right now. I didn't need to answer to any of that stuff. I could do what I wanted. To me, that's true freedom. That's why it's been such a fun project. And it's why it's so rewarding and fills me up. I mean, the amount of times I've said to Amber, I'm like, God damn, this is fun. Right? Like building a software startup where you onboard 10,000 plus users in the first 2 months should not be fun. Like, it's not supposed to be fun, and we're having fun with it. I want to end on how to fight a bear. Can we do that? Amber, can you bring up the how to fight a bear video? Let's watch this.
As the video's coming up, I want to make sure that the listeners know that when Jonathan says he built it, he means Amber. And I want to remind Jonathan, there's no I in Amber, buddy. Okay, slow it down.
It's not. Well, I mean, Amber's a huge part, but no, not Amber nor I. I mean, this is also what's really cool about how we live right now is that neither Amber nor I can code. Like there's like 250,000 plus lines of code in QuickCoach, right? Like I look through that code because every once in a while I'm just curious and like how it's organized. Like this thing is a different language, man. And like you can do that, you can do that these days, which is amazing. Okay, let's watch these dudes fight a bear.
Oh,
So this dude is rock climbing.
This is awesome.
Like look at this. Like for anybody who can't see what we're seeing, this dude is climbing up a mountain. And this bear is like jumping up at him. And he's like yelling, like kicking down at the bear. Yeah, he's yelling. Yeah. And I guess that's what you're supposed to do when like a bear is attacking you and then he like climbs away or whatever it is. But I can't help but think how you can turn it off, Amber. How incredible. Yeah, well, I mean, he's been through a lot, right? I can't help but think how incredible of a world we live in, where like this dude is just rock climbing and like a bear attacked him, and now we have a video of that, and it's like, yo, this is how you like get away from a fucking bear attacking you.